Well, hello there. In this exercise, what I'm going to be emphasizing is technique. What you can do with Fireworks is pretty amazing, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. You can create textures, you can create interactive buttons, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. And in this example, I'm going to create a little project that will probably be destined for something like After Effects or maybe a video editing application. Might even go into Flash for all I know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you just a ton of technique, and please feel free to take from this what you may. So to get myself started, I'm opening up a brand new Fireworks document that is 1280 by 720 in size. And you'll notice the checkerboard here, so that means that the canvas color is transparent. Now, the first thing I want to do is just lay a base over this. I want to put a little bit of texture in there because I want to create a video player over on the right side of the screen here. I want to put an area where I can play a video. So I'm going to start by throwing in a rectangle. So I just draw a little rectangle just like that. And being one of these guys that believes in doing it by the numbers, I'm just going to set the width to 1280 and the height to 720, which are the dimensions of the stage. And of course I want it to go to the 0, 0 point, so I want it tucked right up against that left edge of the canvas. So if I hit enter, there we go. Now, one of the really cool things about working with this application is you can put textures on your objects that you draw. And I've got some flame textures here. These are just little bump maps, and you can pick them up practically anywhere. And a lot of them also come packaged when you buy the application. So you can pick up all kinds of cool things. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use that one there, Flame Texture 15. Now, when I select it, you'll see nothing goes there. And the reason is that textures have to have some color to them. So I'm going to add a neutral gray, and there's the color. Now watch what happens when I just take the gray up a little bit darker. You know, there's a little bit more contrast into it, which I kind of like. And then I can take the opacity of this down, which tends to darken it up, or I can bump the opacity a bit to brighten it up. Now, what I want to do is put the logo in here, and I want to put the video piece here and the logo up in this corner here, but I don't want this interfering with it. So that means I kind of got to flip the image. Well, part of the problem here is that I really can't. If I select the square here and go to transform and say flip horizontal, you see nothing happens, because what it's doing is it's flipping the shape, it's not flipping everything else. This is just a fill inside. So what I do is I come over to the layers panel, I select my rectangle, and I just flatten it down as a bitmap. Okay, so just flatten the selection, there we go. And if I've got it selected, then I can go to modify, transform, flip horizontal, and it's over where it belongs. So now I've got my background here. I've got a really interesting little texture happening here. I can put a video in this area here. I've got this open up, and I want to put a couple of little buttons in here, some text, and of course the Toots Plus logo. So let's create the video player. Now the video that I'm going to be putting in will be a standard MP4 video, 720 by 480. And what I want to do is just create an area for it to play. And then I want to show the world, or show the developer or the designer, where I want the controls to go. And if you remember my last tutorial, I was using strobe media playback, so I'm going to use that player. So here's how I created all that. The first thing I did was just simply create a gray box. And I want this gray box to be a little bit bigger than what the dimensions of the video are going to be. So I'm going to take this gray box out to about 740 to about 520, we'll say. No, that's too much. We'll take it up to 500. There we go. So it's 740 by 500. That's the size of the box. And you notice that it's got that fill. I don't want that. I want to give it a white fill. Actually, I'm going to fill it with a custom color. So I'm going to choose the fill color here. I'm going to choose C6 or C8, 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 C8. Hit the Enter key. That color is accepted. I'm going to get rid of the flame by just pulling it down to 0. There we go. Now it's gone. And the next thing I'm going to do is just put a little edge around this. And I'm going to get the edge tool or the stroke tool. I'm going to put a small stroke around it. And I'm going to use 666666 for the stroke. And it's going to be 1 pixel in size. So now a video will go in here quite nicely. And I'm just going to put it right there. Okay. Now what I want to do is now create the area that will hold the video. And I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, so I'm going to call this one base. I'll call it base vid so I know exactly what it's being used for. So I'm going to copy this. So Command or Control C, paste it, Control V or Command V. There we go. And I'm going to call this one video. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm actually going to make it the proper size. It's going to be 720, 480. Just like that. Now, one of the great things about working with with Fireworks is that you get an alignment panel, which is right here. So if I click the alignment panel, and I just say, look, line up the center points of these two objects, I've got this thing totally aligned. And not only that, I can now fill it with white. Oops, undo that. I can select this inner shape here, the video shape. I'm going to fill it with white. And there we go. Now I'm just going to bring in something, content that will show up in this area, and that's File, Import. So I'm going to go to my desktop, come to my techniques. It's in the Assets folder right here. And you can see that little angle bracket that basically says Place Stuff, and I just placed it. And it's huge, so I'm going to just zoom out here. So I come down, make this a little bit smaller, get my Scale tool. Bring it in small, come up to 100%. And get it into place. So I'm just going to take it about there. And then just get it out to 100%, or just keep it in perspective or proportion. There we go, right there. Move this up just a little bit. And if I come to the Layers panel, you can see there's the bitmap. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the bitmap under the video, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to choose the video and the bitmap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Modify, Mask, Group as Mask, and I now have a poster frame for a video. And one final thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Shadow and Glow, and I'm going to actually import or put on an inner shadow and take the shadow down a little bit, about 2 pixels. And we'll take it up to 3. There we go. And I can take this down to about 40%. Okay, we'll take the opacity of it down to about 40%, so it's not as strong. There we go. And this will come down to 3 pixels out, just to thin that edge off. And we'll leave the angle at 315 degrees. And what we have just done is create the video holder. Now, if I'm going to take this over to Flash, what I'm going to do, or some other application, I'm simply just going to pull this image out of here and just leave that screen white. But this is for prototyping purposes. Now, what I'm going to do in the next exercise is bring in the player, bring in the logo, put in some text. And then maybe, if I have time, I will also add a button. If I don't, I'll create another video for it. I'll see you there.